Sean, welcome to the show. How's everything going? Mad Max Radio, Live
Good, good,
365,
man.
iHeartRadio.
I'm good. I am developing my third movie that I'll be directing, and just getting my second movie that I directed out to distributors and film festivals, and kind of rolling from there.
Congratulations on that. And I know the newest one I saw was being promoted everywhere, Traumatika.
Traumatica is a role that I'm acting in.
hmm
And yeah, it's a pretty exciting and different kind of horror film, in terms that these guys really know how to do creepy visual jump scares. Did you get to check it out?
I checked out the trailer.
Yeah,
It's definitely creepy. I gotta watch the
yeah,
film.
yeah. It's way creepy, and I play the voice of reason, which is, like the guy who says, "Hey man, don't open that weird, artifact that says there's bad stuff in there." And I'm the Rodney Dangerfield that gets no respect because they open it up. And if they listened to me and they were like, okay, then the credits would roll after a 5 minute short, so it's not really. So there you have it.
Of course, I look forward to seeing this. Gotta check out the full film, but make sure everyone go check that out for sure. So, is there anything you can reveal about this upcoming independent film you're directing?
The one that I just directed, I shot it in March. Yeah, it has Elaine Hendricks, who's on Dancing with the Stars right now, Hana May Lee from Pitch Perfect, um, Ray Santiago from Ash vs. Evil Dead, myself, Rebecca Kennedy, who stars in Traumatica, and a couple other really good actors, Alex Rich and Philip Garcia from several television shows and things. And it's about a sister, Rebecca Kennedy, who, on the anniversary of their parents who had a terrible car accident that killed their little brother and their parents, she's visiting her brother. She uh, accepts her pain or deals with her pain by boxing but not fighting back and just getting punched a lot. And the brother gets on dating apps. And the night before she's coming in, he gets on a dating app, matches with the girl, goes to her house, and then disappears.
Oh,
So she comes to town and tries to find where he is, but we know as the audience he's been taken to this farm where Elaine Hendricks is the mother, a very odd mother of three mute women, one 6'5" with a sickle, one that is wears a bald cap and is pale white with black thin clothes, and then another one who is Hana Mei Lee in a blue tuxedo, and they torture men that they catch. They catfish them, keep them, and torture them because they were abused by their father, and their sister got abused by boys too. So this is their kind of revenge. And so the sister, Rebecca, is um, um, trying to rescue her brother from these women. And it's a cool trailer. You can see the trailer right now. If you put in Sean Whalen swipe, you will see it, articles, Fangoria, and a couple other places that show our trailer. So it's
wow.
very, yeah, it's
Heavy
definitely,
material.
yeah. But it's a straight up legit horror. My thing was, it'd be great to have, we have Freddie, we have Michael Myers, we have all these other stuff. And women horror icons are kind of, The Exorcist and stuff, but that's not kind of a murderous person, it's more of a victim. And then the nun is very, just creepy in her own way. But we don't really have, like, you know, killers, that are women, you know what I mean? And so we don't have our female Michael Myers and stuff. So we're throwing three at you.
It's something different. Well, we did have
Yeah,
Pamela Voorhees, but she only got the first
true.
movie.
That's true. That is right. That is right. So yeah. But in terms of like an iconic look and feel and vibe, we don't have that many. So
No, no, it's true. So you're breaking the mold in that
breaking the
avenue
mold,
there.
man. Yeah. So it's
Doing something
cool.
different. I can't wait to see it. And I
Yeah,
really wanted to start from the beginning because I learned about your
sure.
whole journey just with you becoming an actor and especially being a kid and entertaining your siblings while cleaning the dishes and the
Yeah.
plays in fifth grade.
Yeah.
So what made you choose to go to UCLA?
I had two kind of options. My dad was paying for college. He lived in California, and one was, a good. It's always that time back then, anyway. In the early '80s, it was either you're going to go to New York and do the stage, musical, theater kind of thing, or you're going to go to LA and try to get into commercials and more film. And I was weighing that decision when my dad said, I live in California and UCLA is super cheap. So how about that? And I was like, I want to go to California. So I had no idea that I'd get in. I was one of like 20 students that got in and was super selective, which I did not know until actually very recently. Um, and I was, loved going out there. And but the program, there was a lot of politics. I got into a play right away, and people gave me hate because freshmen didn't get parts, but it was a part of a 16-year-old kid, and I looked like I was 14. So the only other guy I was competing with for a 16-year-old kid was like this huge guy with a huge beard, and I was like, I'm gonna have to be the worst actor in the world for you to get the part, dude. So I mean, I literally fit the part. That's all. And so, and I got to work with Daphne Zuniga, who was on Melrose Place and Spaceballs, the lead in Spaceballs and stuff. So
Wow.
that was really fun. And then the program, because I got all that hate and stuff, I was like, this is crazy. Like, why aren't people, you know, and more politics and more, crazy stuff that I was like, man, I'm not into this right now. And I don't think I'm ready for it. So I just went to UCLA, had a great time. I was like Revenge of the Nerds. Me and a group of guys started a fraternity and we had a building by the end and all that other stuff. And that was really fun because we were all alternative type of fraternity, like, very fun and more creative and that taught me a lot. And then I went straight into Groundlings, and then I, studied at Groundlings for a couple of years, did their Sunday show for about a year and a half, and then went to Playhouse West. And during that time, I started commercials, and then, the work started.
It did. It was this because it's kind of almost like you started out in a horror movie in real life by running over blood to the medical labs. Was this something
Yes,
for an
yes.
internship?
Yes, yes, that was my it was a building called the Boyer Clinic, and it was very far away from the main hospital. So when they needed stuff, um they needed a runner. They needed someone to, like, go and do go and, pick up x-rays, go to the x-ray thing and go pick up blood work and go to yeah. So it was there that one of the doctors said, "Hey, I go to the Groundlings every Sunday. It's a really fun place to watch shows." And so they turned me on to going to see the Groundlings, and that's what started me on that journey.
And then get into the theater. And Kathy Griffith was there too.
Yeah, Kathy Griffin was there. She was there at the time I was there. People who were right behind me were Will Ferrell and Melissa McCarthy, and I was in the shows with Lisa Kudrow. So that was really fun because I did Friends, and it was
Oh, the
great.
delivery. You're the delivery guy.
The delivery guy. And it's amazing that after all these years, literally people will go like, "You're the pizza guy from Friends." I'm, dude, I did one episode, you know what I mean? But people love those kind of, they didn't have a lot of guest stars in the early episodes. So I
Mhm.
think maybe that's why I stand out. I don't know.
Hey, there's memorable roles there. I kind of wanted to get within the timeline because was it you got people under the stairs before the You Got Milk commercial? Was that how it went?
Yes.
You got
Yeah.
that before the commercial.
Yes. And so that, we were number one for 6 weeks, which is unheard of now. Like, that doesn't even happen anymore, that any movie is number one for 6 weeks. And unfortunately, it was because unfortunately, back then, horror wasn't such a big deal. So it definitely helped that I had a big part in a real studio movie, but it wasn't my big break by any means. And then a couple years later, when I got the milk commercial, that was the big break. That was the one that Spielberg saw, and they said, "Oh, he's going to put you in a movie." A friend who worked at Amblin was like, "He likes the commercial. Don't worry, you'll get into something." And then that's how I got into Twister.
Oh, Alan, that's another memorable role. Roach is my favorite role from you
Yeah,
throughout your career. I mean, I'm a huge People Under the Stairs fan. I think that's one of the all-time greats, and it really kind of speaks on the times that we're living in now with gentrification. It really shows how Wes
yeah.
Craven was really ahead of his time with that.
Way ahead of his time. Way, and now, like, people taking kids and keeping them forever is like, there's one on every block.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just saying, like, it's crazy that it was such a, and it was based on a real story, but it was very, it was very uh unique story. Unfortunately, it's not as unique now, but
No.
yeah, but also, yeah, very socially forward, It's
Mhm.
really cool. He's,
What's insane, I know it's labeled as a horror comedy. Is it kind of more of the dialogue that makes it comedic
no,
with
it's
some of the
that
things?
they do well. There's wacky stuff, right?
Mhm.
So there's so I pull a lever and the dog goes sliding down,
With the toy.
with the toy in his hand. Then there's when they hold onto the electricity, it goes, that's like the Three Stooges, like crazy stuff like that. But then, nut stuff on the other side too. I mean, I was only on screen for 11 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, total.
No, it was upsetting. I know the tongue scene, that was everyone
Yes,
knows that.
everybody knows that. And he was so cool, letting me really get emotionally prepared for my death scene, which was really cool.
Mm. Yeah, and I heard that it was a relaxed state that he had on set. Was there anything you took away from him, his direction, that you may apply to your own directing
Oh,
techniques?
100% that the vibe comes from the top. If you're stressed and frantic, it's not, then no, everyone else is, it just comes from the top. If you have a good vibe and you're relaxed, and he was always relaxed. He was great. Very cool guy.
I actually too, this might bring back some memories. I've seen some pictures online here. If you remember some of these
Oh yeah,
moments.
that is from my camera. So I brought
Wow.
my camera to the set one day and just took pictures. Um, took pictures of me behind the scenes and getting my makeup done and having lunch with Wes and Brandon. It's very cool.
It definitely is. And then this one too, I think that you get your own chair here, with the makeup
Oh yeah,
chairs.
that's my yep, that's my the day I brought my camera. Yep. 100%. Yeah.
When was the last time that you saw Wes?
It was on the God, it was a long, it was the 30th anniversary of, not 30th, maybe 25th or 20th. It was one of those ones we were doing some DVD extras. And that was the last time I saw him.
Man, no, it's such a loss to the
It
whole
is.
film world with losing him.
Yeah.
It's been such a while. I was a young kid when that happened, and
Yeah.
just very unfortunate. Were you gonna be? I know you died as Roach, unfortunately, but was there any plans of maybe you being a part of the show in some sort of way behind the scenes, or even as an
I don't know.
extra or
I
something?
think they would have brought me in as a cameo or a different
Hmm.
role or something. But yeah, they were going to do something like that. Yeah.
Have you? Because I don't know if there's been any updates on that. Would you be interested in trying to make a movement to
Well,
potentially see?
Jordan Peele is producing a remake of it.
Okay,
They
I think
got
I'd
a
heard
writer.
that.
Yeah, they got a writer. That last I heard, they got a writer and they're writing it. But I'm absolutely want to try out for Daddy, 100%. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to try out for Daddy. Why not? But I always, now that I'm producing, I go, but would that be more distracting, or would that be a good, like, would the fans be more distracted that it's me, or would it be, cool, and people would really dig that I'm doing it? But either way, I was analyzing and I thought either way, I'd have to kill it. I'd have to do a good job, or else it would be way worse if I didn't. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Is it true? Because I remember I interviewed Jan Birch a couple years ago, and he said that it's
yeah.
tough to get Everett and Wendy out to the
Oh
conventions.
yeah, that's very tough. Very, very
Oh,
much so. Yeah, they do not go out that much. Very,
wow.
very much. He's done. Like, not at all. She does out a few things. In fact, I was possibly going to do like a screening with her in Chicago or something, because she's in Chicago area, but it never kind of materialized. Yeah, she doesn't
Oh,
do much at all.
wow. That's unfortunate because I know there's a lot of fans for this film,
Oh
and you
yeah.
know all about it, especially with Facebook. That's when it really,
Yes.
it really went came out for you.
100%. 100%.
Ugh. Yeah, it's such a timeless film, and it's just great to see how it lives on. And unfortunately, it's become almost too real life now, all over the
Yeah,
place.
I know.
It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Mm-hmm. You Got Milk commercial. You also teach acting. You're an acting coach, sketching classes early on.
Hmm.
Dug deep into what you do. What's the key to not being typecast? Because it was tough for you once you got this You Got Milk commercial, as far as getting
Yeah.
other
Well,
commercials.
because then, people want the face, because I was making faces. So that's what I did in jury duty. Most of jury duty was make faces. I actually really didn't like the added scene. They added the scene where he comes to conjugal visit and all that stuff because I talked. I didn't want to talk. I wanted to be silent the whole time. Um, but yeah, then you get kind of that but luckily Twister broke that mold because I was more of a normal guy. You know what I mean? It wasn't that I was making goofy faces, but when we were eating at Aunt Meg's, they go, shove a big piece of meat in your mouth, because the skinny face with chewing food they thought was funny. So, and a little ode to the peanut butter commercial. But luckily, I was doing, I mean, my favorite is comedy, and I've probably
Mhm.
done more. I'd love to count how much drama I've done over comedy. I've probably done more drama than comedy, and that's my favorite. But I feel like I was lucky because I got to do both because I trained in drama and I trained in comedy. So I've been able to do both, which is
Mhm.
and that really helped me kind of get out, because I had really dramatic guest stars on TV shows and stuff, and then like really fun characters after that. Like in the 2000s, I did a lot of Nickelodeon. I did Unfabulous, Nickelodeon, and then a lot of Disney Channel and stuff like that. So, um, but the 90s is where I was doing, most of my stuff. But the whole industry changed after the 2000s. So,
And you brought it to the perfect segue, and I learned about this as far as the whole industry goes. So there were quotes back in the day, and just all
yeah,
these outside the corporations came in and just bought everything out. So kind of
yeah.
elaborate on this because this is what changed everything because everything became scale.
Yeah. That's that basically you were craftsmen, just like anything, just like an artist or any kind of thing. The more you worked, your quote kind of went up a little bit. You had more validation to get bigger, price tags and, always the same thing. They're not going to give me a huge thing because I had a body of work for Twister because you're like, well, we've got a huge hit that you're going to be in. So they can leverage that, to argue it. But yeah, in 2000 the corporations came in and they made it they just said, I remember casting director telling me the story. It is like, well, these are craftsmen, and they go, we're not asking you to do this. We're telling you to do this. Everybody gets scale. That's it. And unless you're a star, stars can negotiate. If you're not a star, scale. That's it. And that was rough for all of us who had quotes, that so it was like Hollywood had its own insular way of doing things that the rest of the world didn't really understand. When the corporations came in, they go, why are we paying people who don't put butts in seats? And they have a point, but it's also, you're honoring someone who is building, that has had a recognizable trajectory. And so, that's kind of when everything started to change.
So and no one got the quote money. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you were a big star.
Capitalism, corporate
Yeah.
capitalism.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, they're cutting costs, right? And the first thing to cut is labor. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's labor and assets. That's all you have. And in movies, you don't even, you're building an asset. You don't have the asset. And they're trying to cut costs building that asset. So there you go. And they could be wrong. They could be a flop.
Do you think the most recent strike helped anything out? Because I noticed, because I've been getting into acting, and I noticed some of these, because I was doing extra roles and I was doing small roles, but these extra roles I was looking at online, it's the same pay and it's more days. I'm like, what? I thought there
Yeah.
was a strike. What
Yeah.
happened?
I think it unfortunately gave the studios an opportunity to say, hey, we're doing too much, we're paying too much, let's just contract everything. We have enough stuff that and streaming is a whole different ball game because you're not monetizing through commercial. When it was TV, they would go, how much advertising are you getting? Oh, these many millions of people. means these advertisements cost a lot more, meaning the cast, gets more money. Everybody makes, when you're on a hit, you make more money. But in streaming, it's really hard because, you don't have those metrics of advertising. And so we were just trying to say, it happens every time they do a new medium. With DVDs that we did, it was a problem. With VHS, it was a problem. Because they're always looking for a way not to, to cut costs. So luckily, we fought for all those fair things, and now we're in the middle of it with streaming, and we're at the forefront of AI that could take all our jobs. So you have to either I mean, look, it's a business. So where is things going? The studios are spending a lot of money on movies, unfortunately, that a lot of people aren't interested in. And in what's great about independent is they're on top of it.
Mhm.
They're bringing up stuff that people want to see, and they don't have to cost as much. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
independent, it's kind of like Ryan Coogler uh, took his money from the Wakanda movies and from like a Creed, and was like, okay, I did the big ones. Now I'm going to do Sinners, which is creative and different and brand, and everybody loved them.
Mhm.
So he's showing that people want fresh stuff. They want new, fresh stuff. It's not always got to be Marvel. It doesn't always have to be a reboot or a remake or a side character or you know what I mean? People do want fresh content, and Sinners proved that.
It did, and this is what you're doing, independent missile. So when did this whole come about with the independent corporation, the company that you have now?
So Rebecca, I did my movie Crust,
Oh,
which
the
is
socks.
Indigo, yeah, an Indiegogo. Have you seen that movie
I
yet?
did. Yeah, that was funny.
Did you
Yeah,
like it?
yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm really proud of it. It really got my feet into directing to see if I could actually do it. And it was a love fest of friends and Felissa Rose helped me get a very cool crew that she knew me very well and knew the kind of vibe I like. And I just said, I insist on casting. I'm picking my actors because I need to know that for my first film that the acting's going to be good. And luckily, it really did. And on that was Rebecca Kennedy, and she was so just before the movie started, always available, always doing the best to make it work. And her and I did not get roles where we were romantic leads at all. So we thought, if we don't come off as a couple in any way, shape, or form, this movie doesn't work at all. So she made herself available to do acting class to get our chemistry going. And we got a great puppeteer to do Crust. So we had all three of those elements. And then on set, she had so many great suggestions, way more knowledgeable than the average actress, knowing about shots and missing pieces that I may need and suggesting that we need different pickups and stuff. And I was like, wow, you're really well versed. What have you directed? She was getting into producing some of her own stuff. And she said, I had it. And I said, well, I'm going to fix that. I said, I'm going to write you something. And the guy who played Agent Bynes and the twin brother, him and I wrote a short comedy. And I said, you're going to direct it. And we decided, me and my wife and her husband, um, she had just done a movie and I had just done a movie where the movie, we did the same thing we always do. We give 100%, make ourselves available, work on, but the other elements of the movie weren't really up to the par we put in. And you go, man, you can work your butt off, but all you can do is just your part. What if we have this high standard? Let's put the high standard across the board: acting, look, sound, story, like all of it. Make it work. And we said we got to make our own stuff. Plus, we saw these auditions that Rebecca was producing a short, like 1,000 people audition submitting for a short in Utah for 3 days. You know what I mean? And you go, we've got to get on the other side of this thing. And so we started with the short. That went very well. Got into LA, several film festivals, LA International Film Festivals where it premiered, which was amazing. And then we said, let's produce this web series called Psyche on Sunset, which is really, really fun. It's about the hottest restaurant in New York, in LA, where all the waiters are trained therapists, but they're the worst in their food service is their therapy because they're so they're the worst, so it's like, it comes up to a couple. Hi, I'd like to order a drink and my wife will have the same. And you go, oh, really? So your wife can't order for herself? No, no, no. She always likes me to, oh, so you control her all the time. And he's like, well, she likes it. And instead of you telling me she likes it, how about she tells me if she likes, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. So it's really fun. It's psycheonsunset.com. You should check it out. They're really fun episodes. We have 4 up and we want to do more. And then we decided to do a real horror movie with Swipe. And
Mhm.
we had a good producer friend of ours, Chris Sergi, who helped us cast. We wanted to get a couple names if we could. We ended up getting 5 because the script was so good. And people luckily knew me as a director. And, they watched Crust and said, oh, okay, he knows what he's doing. It's not like, some schlub who doesn't know what he's doing. And it turned out great, and Hana May Lee, who was in our first one, wants to work with us again on our next one. So
Wow.
that's what you want. You want to
Mhm.
start building a team of people who you appreciate, you like, and wants to be, on board with you. And once we did that, it was a very tough shoot. We shot in February in the cold, night shoots. With a crew we didn't know well. Like it wasn't the love fest. It was business. It was hardcore business. And it was a lot for us as new producers to take on. But we finished the film and it was funny. A lot of films had shut down at the time. The funding fell through and big ones with Bryan Cranston, other people. But we made it through. And then we had enough footage and we got a great editor. Marta Avery helped us out, who's a friend. So she's done Lovecraft Country and tons of things. And I think we just realized how good it is to be in more control. It's so much harder. It's
Mhm.
so much harder than obviously just getting a script, learning your lines, digging up a character. I have to do that for every character. I have to develop the script. I have to make sure that the people who we work with, Rebecca and I, are great partners. And so when we decided to do our production companies, me and Rebecca were like, oh, all 4 of us will do one. And our business sides, better halves, my wife, her husband go, oh, no, 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 no. We're going to have ours. You're going to have yours. And then we'll work together because that's the worst thing is all 4 of you. You know what I mean? And to be fair, we're in different financial situations. So that would make it murky anyway. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So God bless them because they always me and Rebecca are the creatives, and we go, and they go, no, 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 calm down. You know what I mean? So we have the really good, better, and we all 4 like best couple friends. But I just think we were tired of not being able to control the outcome.
Mhm.
I mean, that's literally it. If you don't have control of the outcome, your face gets tied to that film,
Mhm.
even though regardless of what the outcome was. And they could say, "Oh, you were great, but the whole movie wasn't strong," or you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you
That's
want
true.
the whole thing to be as strong as you can, and at least if you blame the film, you blame us, and it's
Mm.
our responsibility. So knowing that, we work what we say, we always shoot for 150%. And if we land and we fail, then we ended up at 110%, which isn't that bad, you know?
No. Yeah.
So that's the deal.
No, and the independent really is the way, especially with acting. That's the thing I wanted to compliment with Crust and the independent work that
Yeah.
you've done is the casting. Because I know today with Hollywood, it's all based on how many followers you have, and
Yes.
we see that with the big Hollywood movies, and the acting
Yeah.
is it's terrible now. I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
how it is. It's terrible
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
people faking their following to get these big roles, and I guess that's what casting agents are picking talent off of now a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it definitely, I know like a friend who's a stand-up said, if you don't have big followers, then these clubs aren't going to book you. That's it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
stuff like that. Is social media is a necessary evil? It really
Hmm.
helped me in 2020 with COVID. It helped me mentally. I think I would have gone crazy had I not had something to do, and building my TikTok following really, really helped me. And then, and then on the, and then when I was on TikTok, everyone would go, "Oh, you're underrated. They need to use you more. You're so good in your roles. Why don't you have bigger roles?" And I'd be like, it's not like I can go to Walmart and go, "Give me one big roll." You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work that way. They're like, "Why aren't you in bigger roles?" And I was like, "Oh, did I forget to pick that up at the Ralphs?" You know what I mean? Like, it's not the way it works. The Hollywood basically has said, you don't deserve a lead in a film.
Hmm.
Did they say that to you? And I go, no, they say it by never offering me those auditions. The independent world saw it differently. But then when I was writing Crust, when I did my Indiegogo, it blew up so fast. And all those people, and I said, "What is happening?" And they go, "Dude, we told you we want to see in a bigger role, and you're telling us you have a bigger role in this movie. So we want to see it." So they all funded me really quickly. And it was really cool to get that support. People not just saying that stuff, but actually putting their money where their mouth is. You know what I mean?
That
So
means a lot.
yeah, it means a lot, man. And you've been around and you try to engage with people, but I love people and it's my job to understand behavior in people. So me being on TikTok and going live and chatting with people, I love it.
Hmm.
I love the interaction with people. And they were like, "Oh, you're so down to earth, you're so grounded, and you talk to us." And I go, "Dude, I'm normal. Everyone else is an asshole." Because who invites you into their live and doesn't talk to you? I'm inviting you digitally into my space.
Hmm.
Well, why would I ignore you? That's rude.
It
So
is.
I'm not exceptional. I'm just, I'm just normal, and everyone else has a problem, you know?
It's true. And you mentioned something before too, in me learning about your story. I know you mentioned the waitressing and things like that. I know you had your
Yes.
experiences there, but Costco, you got employee
Yeah.
of the month at Costco. You're doing all this improv. So how was it trying to work a regular job now that were known from doing these big roles on the big screen?
Yeah, well, it was so when I went in like 2004, when the money stopped for having quotes and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and I had two kids and a mortgage, and the only work I was getting was like little Disney Channel, the stuff I was telling you, and
Nickelodeon,
Nickelodeon, which they don't pay,
they
they
don't
do
pay.
not pay. So I went and did this side gig where I did demonstrations, which was easy, because I'm an actor, but demonstration of cookware and then a demonstration of blenders. I did it for like 7 years. And yeah, people would come and go, "What happened? I thought you were," you know what I mean? Because I don't have a face that's not recognizable. And either I would say, I'm researching for a role, or I would go, "Hey brother, I have kids, man. I have kids and a mortgage." You know
Wow.
what I mean? And they would, and I thought it was going to kill my career if anyone in casting saw me or anything. Like, it was the opposite. People respected me, and I got a couple scripts optioned and things, and some opportunities and good auditions, because people went, "Wow, this guy's humbled himself and said, yeah, man, I gotta work, I gotta make money. What am I gonna do? Let my family, everything fall apart for me?" So that was tough. But the
Mhm.
great thing was, I uh, I was preparing for a role, because then I got Employee of the Month, and that was all in a Costco. And there was one big section where he goes, "Look, I need you guys to walk from there to there. So I don't know if you can talk to employees, if you can talk to people." He goes, "Could you, just get some lingo down?" And I went, "I got you." And I told my partner, who didn't know anything about it, Tim Bagley, who's just a genius comedic actor, and I said, "Let me lead the conversation." And I knew everything what to say because I had worked in the Costco's for the last 8 years. So I was preparing for a role. I just didn't know it yet.
See, it worked out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was great. But look, you got to do what you got to do,
You
man.
do.
And that's the reality of things. Is the people who stay. Look, I did that so I could stay in the game,
Hmm.
right? The people who never make it are the people who leave the game. So I never knew I was going to be a director. I didn't want to direct Crust, man. I wrote it, I wanted to star in it, and I was going to produce it. And then my manager, Gary Ozdal at the time, just goes, eh, you know. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, dude, people slap their name as a producer on everything. Of course you're going to act in it, no big deal. And writing is cool, but he goes, no one cares unless you direct. And I go, all right, I guess I'm directing it. And didn't know what, it was all learning. I just went in there cold, but you know more than you think you know. You just do. You know
Hmm.
more than you think you know. I've been on sets, but since 1989 by that point. So that was, uh, 25 years, 35 years of being on sets. I've picked up a few things. So I knew more than I thought. And then by controlling the environment, having just one location, it was great.
Hmm.
I also was smart. I know I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So I shot it in one location, but kept it dynamic with the different characters and you know what I mean?
Hmm.
It never felt, I mean, you tell me, did it ever feel like super claustrophobic?
No, it didn't.
No.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like, I
Well
it,
directed.
yeah, yeah. So, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I really believe in you just have to go, yeah, I'll figure it out. It'll work. And you don't know how you'll figure it out, but if you know you have to, you do.
Hmm.
If you paint yourself in a corner, you're going to figure out a way. But if you don't and go, well, let me take the time to learn it and then you're never going to do it. Just like going to an exercise class. When they go, it's a 45-minute class, you're like, oh my God, how am I going to spin for 45 minutes? But you do it. Then you come, then I bought a bike and I'm like, I'm going to do it at home. Dude, 20 minutes. I'm like, because no one's telling you you can do this in 45 minutes. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you have to do it in a class because you're not going to get off the bike and go, I'm out. So you got, you know what I mean? But at home, you do. So
True.
that's what I'm saying. You just got to commit. Just
You have
jump
to
in and
commit.
figure it out.
Hmm. You
Yeah.
have to commit. I think what was so amazing with Crust was the metaphors too. For I know you went through a bad depression. That was
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
see that through in this film. Was this the first time that you experienced depression throughout your life,
Now
or there was
I
just
had
this was
my,
just a bad phase?
no, I had I've always been a little high strung, a little nervous, anxious. My first anxiety slash, the first one was mostly anxiety, was in 1983. But I was about to get married and stuff like that. So I was like, making big life changes at the same time. So I thought, oh, that's what that was. But then later on, after my divorce, I mean, again, it was situational, but I was in the divorced dad's apartment. The holidays were coming. My little kids had lost their house. They lost their house and then they have to spend Christmas in this janky apartment. And it felt like I was a failure. And then luckily, my ex-wife and I were not in love at that time. And it was the smart move to make, you know.
Mhm.
Um, I can't imagine if I was, but it was hard enough just being, feeling like a failure. And it was after that one that I wrote Crust, because I felt like I had a lot of anger and I didn't know why I was angry and I didn't know where to put it. So I just put it all and going, all right, I'll have a little, because everyone's like, you should have had a pet. And I go, dude, I couldn't tie my shoes. How am I going to have a pet? So I was like, I'd love to have a pet if they got rid of all my problems. And I was like, oh, damn. And I had pitched this idea about a monster in a laundromat years ago, and I thought, oh, this is the way to do it. And I started writing with one of my best friends, Jim Wald, who's very anal about, you know, about about logical stuff. So it's a crazy world, but the logic of the characters and how they respond to each other makes sense. And I needed a guy like that to keep me in check. And he was a great writing partner. And we had a blast. And then we tried to get it done then, and it just took a while. And then finally it came around through Felissa Rose and this producer Dan Kearney, and they got me started on it. And Rebecca and I had grown as actors, so we even said, like, man, if they did it in 2016, we never would have been emotionally mature. We were both deep in our marriages. We were both, ready to take a risk and go, you know what? I've never kissed anyone on screen, and we both had to go, you just have to dig us as people, you know what I mean? As a couple. And we just dove in and made it happen. But that depression stuff guided the character. And a lot of the compliments I've gotten has said, you don't beat us over the head with the depression stuff. It's just there.
Hmm.
It's just kind of there. You know what I mean? And I don't do big lectures about it or anything like that. He's just depressed. And
Yeah.
instead of Little Shop of Horrors, where the plan is eating people, he gets shocked and freaked out. It's more like Willard, who was kind of a loser and got the rats to get on people. I started to feel better because I was like, oh, damn, like things are going, you mess with me and you're going to feel my sock monster. You know what I mean? So it's a fun, I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. And I luckily it's getting a relaunch from Anchor Bay. They kind of they had some they were starting to relaunch Anchor Bay and they had a tough time really getting it out to the people, but they said, man, there's a consistency. People are finding it and they're digging it. So they're doing a whole new relaunch. We're doing a re-release with Crust in a detergent box. We're going to be doing special screenings at laundromats. Like they're doing a
Wow, that's
whole new
different.
relaunch. Yeah. That'll be fun because people who see it dig it.
Yeah. No,
It's just it's hard to define. You know what I mean?
mhm. It's up there for sure, especially with independent films. I enjoyed
Yes.
seeing it, and I know there's a large audience for it. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I know Exorcist was that first big scary movie that
Yes.
scared you, but why is it now Hereditary? What is it about
Because
Hereditary?
because I think what Ari Aster did so amazingly well was he made you uncomfortable the whole time. Like every shot, the sister thing happening. I mean, in the
Hmm.
in the trailer, you think the sister's the biggest thing in the whole thing. And sorry for spoilers, but she doesn't make it through the whole movie.
The
But
car
the
scene.
way
Mhm.
she goes out, dude, is and just the way he shot the house, like the dinner table scene. We've seen tense dinner table scenes. We've seen them before, but the way he shot his was so like you're just squirming. It's the same thing he did for Midsummer. Like it's just you don't ever feel chill. You know what I mean? And it was so scary, and the imagery was so scary, and everything was just off in a way that he made it seem like you're having a panic attack the whole movie. And that's what I think. And I'd seen Exorcist, and maybe just because I'd seen it so many times, it just didn't hold up as well for me recently. And then, and then then I saw Hereditary, and I thought, man, it's really scary. So I dug it.
No, and I could tell. I know that's a big one amongst the new generation of people.
Yes. Yeah.
It,
Absolutely.
it definitely is. And I know you've been a part of other big films, Men in Black. That's another one.
That was one that was the biggest heartbreak because I had a much bigger role in that. I was supposed to be Tommy Lee Jones' assistant. It was comedic, it was heartfelt, it had a full arc.
Wow.
They made the deal with me, and then on the Monday after they made the deal with me, they said they wrote out the character. And then they said they're going to bring me because they've already made the deal. So they had to pay me what they were going to pay me for the big part, but they needed to have me on screen. So I'm in a very tiny background
In the
scene.
back with the office people.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was literally, but I remember just standing there as kind of an extra after I shot my stuff. And the Twister premiere was that night. And I pulled the director aside. I said, dude, can you just give me a file and I can walk off screen so I can go to my premiere of Twist?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like instead of chilling back here as an extra. And he was like, absolutely. So I got to, and I got to go and be a part of that, which was really fun. So,
No, I'm
uh,
glad that you got to that premiere. It's a
yeah.
huge hit, and rest in peace to Bill Paxton too. I
Oh
know
my God.
I know his
Yeah.
son. His son's a great. He's another great
Yeah.
actor up and coming. James
Yeah.
Paxton.
Yes, exactly. It's nuts. It's crazy how much people still dig it. And because the other one had just come out, then everybody's watching the old one.
Twisters, the
The
second one.
residuals are
Mhm.
fine, and people still want to meet people from Twister. So it's like, all right, it's still like, it still keeps the blood flowing in terms of the residuals. And I'm like, I'm good with that. So, but I would have done that Men in Black part for free. I mean, that was it would have been a career changing role. But you know what? nothing lasts forever,
That's true.
good or bad. Nothing lasts forever,
You're
and
right.
gotta shift. And so I think my shift into creating my own stuff is exciting. I dig
Mhm.
it.
You have your own control. That's the main
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And Swipe is way bigger, way more legit with locations and bigger names. And, they're not my friends. They're people I meet on the day we're shooting. And, you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole new ball game. And I'm excited. I'm excited to continue directing.
I'm excited to see it. Do you still do this charity too, with you bringing people to the doctor, flying with them, and things like that?
You know what? I worked so hard on that and it just didn't happen.
Hmm.
It never got off the ground. I couldn't get anyone to like really do it. It didn't get traction. And then you realize, oh, putting out a movie when there's so many movies, well, putting out a charity with so many charities, it's hard to get your voice out there. Um, and I tried for like a year and a half and I just couldn't get anything going with it. It was
Oh,
tough.
the,
But
the
I always, I always encourage people. I want to do something because I just got I had some prostate issues, and luckily it didn't turn out to be anything serious. But I
Thank
was like,
God. Mhm.
I talked to a nurse or a woman at the doctor, and she literally said, "Do you know how many husband and wife couples we have, and the husbands don't come in? It's one of the most preventable cancers, and it's the number two cause of death in men because it's invasive, obviously."
Mhm.
The butt and finger up the butt, and no one wants to. It's like, dude, you're not being brave by not doing that because you're bailing on your family over something super preventable
Mhm.
you know so you got to just deal with the discomfort and get in. So I haven't really figured out what I want to do, but I want to do something like, if you go and prove to me you made the appointment and went in and got it, I'll send you a signed DVD or something like that, because these men are dying for no reason,
Mhm.
literally no reason. All you got to do is go to get your checkups. That's it. you know
That's it. Just go and get checked
yeah,
out.
exactly. It's the number
Mhm.
one indicator of longer life is how many times you go to the doctor on your regular checkups, because then they can catch stuff you know
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
yeah.
Rob Zombie. This was another one. You remind you a lot of Wes Craven for Halloween too. And you even
Yes.
remember seeing the first one, the original with John Carpenter's in the
Oh
theaters.
yeah.
How is it being a part of this franchise? Even though
It was great, man. Like, it was just unexpected. A friend of mine was working on a Brandon Tross, big DP, director of photography, and I was in one of his films, the FP. He showed it to Rob Zombie. He goes, "Oh, I like that guy," and my friend Brandon said, "Oh, he said he dug you," and I go, "Oh, that's cool. That's awesome that Rob Zombie knows who I am." And like 3 weeks later, I got a phone call. They're like, "Hey, come down and we got rained out to shoot my scenes. And I sat with Rob Zombie and we just talked about movies forever. And he was so chill. He's so mellow. So then going back from Three from Hell, it was great because he didn't necessarily. Uh, I did something. I'm in two scenes back to back, and the first scene we shot, he's like, "Man, I like what you're doing better than what I had for the second scene." So me, him, and his wife Sherry wrote the scene on the day,
oh, the
sitting around.
grape soda.
Yeah, the grape soda, dude. We read that wasn't in the script. None of that was in the
Wow.
script. And so we rewrote all that stuff right there, and the grape soda became the thing.
That's amazing. It really
Yeah, it
is
was dope.
crazy to see what goes on behind the screens.
Oh yeah. And then he said the worst thing of all. It was the last day of shooting, and he's walking away and he goes, "Man, this feels like something that's not in any other part of the movie." And you go, "It'll never make the edit, dude. It'll never, they're gonna cut it out, obviously." You know what I mean? Because he was like, "It's so different from everything we've done." What he meant was the process was so different. I thought he was talking about, oh, it's so tonally different that it's never gonna fit the finest thing. And when I went in there, and I saw him at the rap party, he was like, "Dude, I kept every line of that thing." Because I think he was excited that me, Sherry, and him got to write that stuff. The
Mhm.
grape soda stuff was super fun. I got to have some of my comedy in there. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
great. It was really fun.
And you've collaborated with so many people, and even Guillermo del Toro with the residuals. He wanted to buy the people on the
Yeah,
stereo
yeah, yeah,
DVD.
yeah.
How was
I
it
was
being
on the.
directed by Clint Eastwood?
Oh God, that was one of the greatest days of my life. uh, because I got into Jersey Boys, and I knew he was very specific about his casting, so that just made me feel good that I was cast. I was supposed to work for 2 days, but he's so quick. The reason he keeps working is he comes in under budget, unheard of in Hollywood, under budget. Um, and I went in there, and during the day, Jack McBrayer from 30 Rock and so many other Wreck-It Ralph, he came by the thing, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to bother him. And I heard a tap, and it was him. He goes, I'm a big fan of yours. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a huge fan of yours. Um, and that was really great. And then I went to lunch, and I was in an engineering booth. That was my character. And I came back, and there was this little guy talking about, how it was back, and it was Frankie Valli, man. He was right there, man. And he's sitting there talking. Then I go away again, we had a break and came back. And this guy who worked on Twister was our DP, and he's telling these funny stories. And there's a guy sitting in the corner. It's Clint. So me and this guy are telling Clint all these crazy Yondabont stories on Twister and stuff. Clint was laughing, having the best time. Then I got to watch those guys sing over and over live for real, playing instruments, singing the songs live. And then I got to one thing. I did a kind of a comedic take on it, and Clint like was laughing behind the camera, and I was like, I made Clint laugh, dude. That's all I need. It was the greatest day. And then they go, oh, you're not coming back tomorrow because Clint got everything in one day. So it's amazing. And so again, he turned in the movie 2 or 3 days early, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know. And he's so chill, dude. He has the people he's worked with for years. So the costume lady goes, he doesn't tell me what to get. He tells me these are the colors I need, and that's it. He never goes. Clint Eastwood's thing is, if you're mad about his shirt, then you're not watching my movie. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so he trusts his people. They've been working with him forever. So he's got his team. So that's my long-term goal, is to get my team.
Your family crew.
Yes, the family core, and use them over and over again, because that's your people.
It is. I'm a big, especially when I was a kid. I haven't seen them in years, but I grew up on the Dirty Harrys as well. Those are classics.
Yes.
But you love the westerns. You're big.
Yes.
Is a western in the works for you as an independent
Oh,
film?
it's my own look. I had two things left I hadn't done, because I'd done kid shows, I've done kid movies, I've done big movies, small movies, horror, comedy, everything. I've done everything except for a Christmas movie and a western, and I just shot a Christmas movie with Maria Menounos over the summer. So I just finished my Christmas movie, and I only have a good western, to do. So, I mean, I did Ride with the Devil with Ang Lee, which was kind of western-ish, but I mean a real western, and that's the only thing I have left. So send me those western scripts,
Please.
please.
That would definitely be the
Yeah,
one
and I
for the
don't want to
ages.
be the prospect that's like, I don't want to be that dude. I want to be and I don't want to be like a bartender. I want to be like one of the dudes with the guns and the whole thing.
The desert, all that with the boot.
Yes, the whole
Yeah.
thing, man. Outlaw Josie Wales, dude. That's one of my favorite movies
Oh,
ever.
that's a classic.
I just love that movie, man. That guy was so cool.
Oh yeah, the Pale Rider, all those good, bad, and
Oh
the ugly.
yeah,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, all the Italian ones he did, they were
the
great.
spaghetti
Good,
westerns.
bad. Yeah, good, bad, and the ugly, man. Come on, man.
Oh
No one would sit through that stuff today,
no,
man.
well and a lot of that too is my generation and younger. It's the attention span. Everything is
Yes.
they can't even. I think that's a big issue with movies because I went to the 50th anniversary screening of Jaws, and
Oh yeah.
everyone in the theater was on their phones. I'm just like,
Come
does anyone?
on.
Yeah,
That's nuts. I mean, that movie's great, man.
yeah.
I used to think, oh, this is, but I remember I was trying to watch Rocky with my daughter, and the first 40 half hour or so, they're like, oh, he's down on his luck. Well, today you could show he's down on his luck in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all you need. But now they're showing, he's this, he's that. But, the pacing of it is slower.
Hmm.
But still people they're still finding these movies, and Jaws holds up, man.
It
Jaws,
does.
it really holds up. It's so strong.
It
But
is.
it's a miserable experience for Steven Spielberg. If
It
you watch the
was.
documentary, if
Oh,
you
I
watch
did.
dude, he never talks about it like it was the best time in the world.
It was
Sounds,
horrible.
he had like PTSD for 5, 6 years after the movie. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So it's to me, that made me feel good because I had a really hard time on Swipe, the one in it was,
The
I
new one.
almost probably had one of the worst days of my life on that set because it was so overwhelmingly difficult. But you realize, oh, I'm not the only one. You
It's
listen to
true.
directors and it's really hard. You have all that responsibility.
Mhm. No,
But I learned, if it would have been easy, I never would have learned as much. Not at all. I
no.
learned so much. I know exactly, it's always the same. And my life lesson is to everybody: relationships, business, anything, constant and clear communication. That's all.
Communication's
I don't
everything.
know if I don't know what you're doing, I mean, just yesterday I didn't communicate. I wasn't available. I wasn't there. And it's my worst thing is not to be able to clearly go, this is what's happening. Because I know for at least an hour or so you were sitting there going, I don't know what's going on. And that I hate that. I hate me going through it, and I hate anyone else going through it.
Oh no, it's fine. But we were
Yeah.
able to get everything situated for
Yeah.
this, for
Yeah, no,
sure.
it's great, but I really believe if you're in any business, if you don't know how to, my daughter is a hostess at a restaurant down near UC Irvine, and she was praised because she could have eye contact and speak clearly. And I was like, is that how low we've gotten?
Oh,
That
we've
you're
gotten really low.
Come on, man. You can't give eye contact and speak clearly? That is a problem, man.
It
We have
is.
a problem, you know? And I was like, if that's your leg up, but now I feel better because both my daughters, my older daughter knows how she's interviewing, right? She knows how to interview. Look, here's the thing. I had a 60th birthday party a year ago. My daughters attended, all these old people, a lot of kids when you've seen them over, 20, 24, sitting on there. They were talking to everybody, delightful, talking to and I went, that's the way it should be,
It
man.
should be like
That's
that.
the way we were when we were kids. You
Hmm.
didn't go hide off somewhere. I mean, yes, you would do it for a little bit, then they'd pop you in front of the Gilligan's Island or TV show or what. I get all that, but you can't do any of that, and you're just sitting by yourself. And no, 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 no. But unfortunately, that's where we're at. And we got to get people got to get the phones out of schools, got to get people talking again. You know what I mean?
Got to get them under the stairs.
Gotta get them out from under the stairs.
Yeah, out from.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
Yeah, brother.
a classic. Isn't it? Had you ever look back and reflect on your life of things that you thought you were going to do and you pretty much did? I mean, as far as teaching, you thought you were going to be a teacher.
No, I mean, yeah, yes, I think, look, it happened when it was probably 20 years ago. I was on a cruise, and I was on a cruise, and I was getting a massage, uh, and the girl who was giving me a massage recognized me, but she had an accent, and she said, "Man, my friends down in South Africa are gonna freak out that I met Sean Whalen." And I went, "Oh, I did it. Like I just wanted to let people see my work, maybe give them some fun, let them forget their troubles for a little bit of time on a big scale." And when this masseuse said, my friend, and I went, "Oh, I've done it. I've done it." And now I get to do that even a bigger thing with my movies, with
Independent.
Crust and Swipe and these other movies. So it's great. So it's like I do not want. I have no interest in, knock on wood, of passing young or anything. But if I did, I would go. I've had true love. I have great kids. My first marriage did not work out. My second one's the love of my life. My kids are great. I've done, as I did well in this career. No, did I get that series regular I want? No. Have I, am I get a lead in a movie? Yes, I'd made my own. You know what I mean? Like I've done so much of what I really wanted to do, and now I just want to build on that. So I'm very blessed.
Mhm. And there's the foreign correspondent is now
There
you're
he
getting
is.
around the
Yeah.
world.
Man, where are you getting all this stuff from? You have done some real
uh,
research.
I dug deep on you here.
Yeah,
Dug
you
deep.
did. Yeah, you did. I got to
uh,
actually wrap this up because I got another interview to go to.
that's
So,
right. Sean, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I had a great time speaking with
dude,
you.
I had a great time talking to you, brother. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time, man.
Of course, and you're always welcome back on the show, especially when you got to release the new film
Yeah.
Swipe.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. I'll keep you posted and I'll get you back on there. Thanks, Max, for having me, brother.
of course. Anytime. Anything else you want to let your close out to let your fans know about?
Just find me on social media, TikTok or Instagram, at Sean Whalen Actor, and you'll see fun stuff. I'm telling stories about what's going on with me and recently, and old stories about Twister. I just found a big box of my personal photos. I've got a Patreon where we do a movie club, like a book club, where we watch a movie every month, and I host it, and we all get on a Zoom and talk about the movie. Just $10 a month. That's it. So that's a good thing to have a Hollywood insider talk about movies with you. I hope so. Things like that. So, uh, yeah, that you can find me there. But anyway,
Anyway, can't get
yeah,
better than
brother.
that.
All right, brother.
All right,
Appreciate
Sean.
you, Max. Sorry again
Of,
about yesterday.
oh, of course, don't worry about it. Thank you,
All right,
Sean. I
man.
appreciate everything you're doing.
Talk to you later,
Talk
Max.
to you later, Sean. Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye bye.